Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining me. We are starting on something new today. It's going to be a new insert set for my interchangeable standing sign. So it's going to be characters, it's going to be Christmas. So let's get started. And hello to the people that have joined. I'm going to start off painting the faces of Mrs. Claus, the elf, and Santa with a color called Flesh. It's by Deco Art. I know this color is no longer available. The replacement color is actually, I believe it's warm beige. I'm going to get a new plate. But I do believe they have the mixing formula for Flesh on their website. If not, there's definitely other, brands of paint that you can use. I just prefer to use Deco Art. So I'm just going to take a makeup sponge and dab lightly. And it's going to take a couple coats. And I might have to, since this area is pretty small, I'll probably have to take a paintbrush. That's probably the better choice. As a matter of fact, I think that's just how I'll go. I actually have another Christmas, good morning, insert set that I'm working on. It's almost done. And then I've got another design that I'm working on that should be ready within the next week or so. I love decorating for Christmas and Halloween. It's probably two of my favorite holidays. So I find that I've been doing more Christmas designs than Halloween. There's a lot of little pieces that go to this. And of course the reindeer is gonna have the light bulbs weaving through. It's antlers. That's not something you have to do. I like the look of it. I think it's cute. Plus it adds a little bit more color. But it's always optional. It's a very, very humid morning. But I think we're supposed to get some rain today. think I'm going to use the sponge on this particular piece. Her face is a little bit bigger than Santa's. And if you happen to get paint in your score marks, just take your little tool and just dig it out. Try and dig it out. Good morning. When the paint is wet, I think it makes it easier. And I'm not really caring if I get paint within where the eyes are, because I am going to be going back and painting those with black. I did happen to give her some eyelashes, and so you'll need to put a little bit of black paint in there as well. Just a little bit. Good morning. There's a lot of extra glue-on pieces for this particular design. Excuse me. Just to give it that extra, dimension. He's got some type of, I don't know what's going on with him. I might not have wiped off the dust all that well. I always like to sand my wood pieces. That's just me. I use wood. I don't use the MDF. I've tried it. It's not for me. But he's going to have a piece you glue on above his face and below his face. And I might go back and just lightly sand that. Santa's gonna have a mustache that you glue on, and a hat band, and eyebrows. So I'm not too worried about getting paint up there. I think I used the word glue earlier. Good morning. just want to get a nice base coat on these faces. And there's something definitely, I don't know if it's on my sponge or on my surface, but I'm definitely going to go over that and smooth it out. I really like to work with a smooth surface. It's very possible, like dust could have got in where I keep my sponges. So I always like to not sand over my working area. I kind of do it off to the side. Then too, if you're gonna sand, you definitely, I use a tack cloth to wipe my surface to get the dust off. So we'll go over this again. And I got off the end of my sponge just to get a new surface, just in case there was dust in there. And I'm getting in where her hair is. Good morning. It's very humid this morning. So the paint is drying quite quickly. We've had a really, really hot summer. My husband and I were talking about that the other day. It's probably one of the hottest summers we've had for quite some time. It'll be interesting to see what our winter's like this year. Good morning, thanks for stopping in. Okay. Okay, we'll let that dry. I'm gonna do a little shading and highlighting. Now, usually when it comes to shading a face, I like to use burnt sienna, which is pretty dark. This is my burnt sienna. It's like an orangish brownish, but I find if you don't water it down, it can be it's too dark. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm actually going to mix some of this burnt sienna with my flesh color for shading. I'm going to actually use probably more flesh than burnt sienna. So when I'm blending colors to shade or highlight, I don't know if you can see, I just kind of dip into the main color, which is, you know, my flesh, and there's a lot of paint on there. And I take it over and I start blending it. And then I'll go back and just get a little bit of the color I'm mixing to try and blend it. Then I'll take it over my surface. And if by chance it's not dark enough, and this could probably be a little bit darker, I'll go back and, you know, make my shading color just a little bit darker. So that's pretty minimal. So I'll need to make that a little bit darker. And I think I might use a better brush. So I'm just basically, you know, mixing my color on my painting palette, my paper palette, and my brush at the same time. So it's just, the shading is very minimal. And I can always go back and darken it. And what's nice is because I'm just doing such a small area, I don't have to worry about the colors matching. Now normally I highlight first and then go back and shade, but I have a good highlighting color. So I'm just gonna shade first, get my shading done, then I'll go back and highlight. But I'm doing most of the mixing of the color on my paper palette. And while I'm doing that, you know, I'm actually blending the paint for the shading. Let's see. So I can get a good shading line on the ear. I think I'll mark this. Morning. Too much water. Now this is a little bit darker than what it was. I use more burnt sienna. I just think that gives a really good shading color. And if you feel that you, like, say you're mixing this color for shading and you feel that you get too much burnt sienna, you know, go back to your color and add more of the flesh or warm beige, whichever color you're using, and vice versa. And then take it back to your paper palette and blend some more till you get the color that you actually want. Now that one was pretty light, but that's okay, I'll build it back up. And I rather have my color be a little bit lighter with the opportunity to go back and build it than it being too dark and then having to try and cover it up. And I think her shading is pretty good. I'm just going from the top of the ear to the other top of the ear. I may or may not add some rosy cheeks. I don't do that too often. I got a fuzzy. Because as you can see, as I'm shading this, you know, I'm walking the float out a little bit. So it's moving that color in the area of the cheeks. I think I'm going to go over her one more time. Smooth out the shading. It's not very smooth. There. And while I'm at it, I should paint their noses. I didn't think about that since I have the color out. And I kind of have these separated on my sticky board by character because their noses are pretty close in size. So my husband and I tried a new restaurant yesterday. We always like to go out and eat on Fridays, whether it be lunch or dinner. And I've heard really good reviews on this restaurant. They've been there a long time. It's probably, I don't know, a 30-minute drive from us. But the name of the restaurant is called Pondy's down in Lisbon. And really a beautiful restaurant inside. It's very deceptive from the road. It looks like it's very, very small, but it's pretty big. There's 4 different rooms. Really, really good food. My husband and I both got the fish. Really good. Big, huge piece of fish. I mean, this big. It was wonderful. And their coleslaw, oh my gosh. Wow. We definitely will be going back there again. You know, they have lunch menu and they have a dinner menu. So I definitely want to try the dinner menu. There's something that has caught my eye and I would love to go back and try that dish. But really a good place. Reasonably priced. It you know, it's a little higher than what we've been going to. But the food was really, it was worth the money. Service was excellent. So we definitely will be going there again. My only complaint would be, and you know, it's off the beaten path. It's on the outskirts of Lisbon. So it's all on a side road. Thank goodness for GPS because we would have never found it. My only complaint would be, you know, the parking. It's very minimal. They do have additional parking, but we had never been there before. So we go to pull in the parking right where the restaurant was, and it was a tight fit. And very hard to back out of. I had to back out on the road because there was definitely no room to turn around. And the visibility was bad to back out. And there was additional parking down the side and across the street, but the signs were not marked clearly. That would be my only complaint about this place. So we definitely would go there again. I mean, it was really, really good. All right, I'll let that dry. I think I got a pretty good coat on flesh on there. And I'm going to go back and do some highlight flesh for highlighting. But we always like to try different places. We've been patronizing this one restaurant for a couple months now. Really good food. We have one particular lady that waits on us. Good morning. And she is awesome, very attentive. But we just like to try new things, so I'm not going to do any highlighting on Santa's face at all. There's no need to. Definitely will highlight the nose. But we'll do the outside of the ears on this elf. And down at the bottom of the face. Hello. But I never realized how old homes there are in Lisbon. Really some beautiful old homes on the main drag. And that would be a nice drive once fall hits. With all the changing of the leaves. I don't think it's a place we would go to in the wintertime. Very hilly, very curvy. I don't think it's something we would do in the winter. But definitely, I would like to make that drive in the fall. And I'm just using a color called Highlight Flesh, and I know that they don't offer this anymore. I know this is retired. But it kind of looks like a cross between a very, very light peach with white added to it, with maybe just a hint of a very light pink. And Mrs. Claus is going to have little earrings that you glue on. I think I'll go over the bottom of this elf's face one more time just to brighten it up just a little bit more. And then we'll just highlight these noses. And I kind of just, when it comes to my noses, and this is just me, it's just how I do it. I kind of like to go along the top, but then take it around to the right side of the nose. And then I always do my shading pretty much just on the left side of the nose. I might wrap it around the bottom just a titch, but that's just how I like to do mine. Gonna highlight the outside edge of her ear just lightly. But this restaurant yesterday, we got there about 1:45. So lunch hour was winding down, but this place was packed. So that's always a good sign. That tells you, you know, this place has good food. Because there's nothing worse than trying a new restaurant and it just is not that great. So we will definitely be going back, and I highly recommend that restaurant if you live in the area. You need to try out Pondi's. Pondi'S. Hey, good morning. Tell Tyler and Liberty I said hi. Oh, thanks, Lori. Enjoy your day off, too, by the way. All right, just a little bit more on the ear. I'm going to have to find the Browns game today. I think the Browns play today. And my husband is a huge Browns fan. Huge. Alexa, does the Cleveland Browns play today?
The Cleveland Browns will play the Minnesota Vikings at home this afternoon at 4:25 p.m.
Thank you.
Say things like, follow the Green Bay Packers to stay informed on your favorite NFL teams.
Okay. Alexa, follow the Cleveland Browns.
Cindy, you're now following Cleveland Browns. To manage your follows, go to your profile and family in the Alexa app.
All right. Alexa, follow the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Cindy, you're now following Pittsburgh Steelers, and you will receive notifications when they have updates.
Alrighty then. Alexa, follow the Ohio State Buckeyes football team.
Cindy, you're now following Ohio State football, and you will receive notifications when they have updates.
Well, there you go. Had no idea you could do that. So, that's awesome. Because we are huge sports fans here. Huge. Something tells me, you know, she needs rosy cheeks. But I think what I'll do is I'll wait until I do everything else. And then I'll decide. All right, I need to shade, and since I'm out of flesh, I'm going to just take some of my highlight flesh and the burnt sienna and kind of just make my own concoction. And I need more burnt sienna. And I don't want the shading to be that bold. Just very minimal. Something I've actually done is I've actually taken down the, country red and shaded with that too, just to give it a little redness on the noses. So that's something you can do. But I mean, that ended up, it's very minimal, and I will let it dry and go back and just dirk it a titch. Maybe wrap it more around the bottom, but I know you guys can't really tell the difference. You can't really see that on the camera like I can. I wish you guys could see, things the way I see it. It's interesting how that works. But that's good enough. All right. Let's start painting the warm white on the hair, the beard, the little pom-poms. Well, I'm not going to do white on the pom-pom of the elf. I'm going to do the collar white, the warm white. I'm just going to go around this hairline with the brush, and then I'll go back and use a sponge. And we will be shading her hair with a little gray. Now, if you happen to be using a flat brush like I am, I don't know if you can tell this from the video, but I'm actually holding my brush on an angle and applying the paint on the surface using the chiseled edge to just get a really narrow line. And it goes nicely across the area where, you know, to keep it from going over that score line. And at the same time, it's putting on a lot of paint. More so than if I was to use just a really thin, narrow brush, like a liner brush, just to get close without going over those edges. So if you have a really good flat brush that the chisel edge is really sharp, you know, this is another option of applying your base coat. And then I just kind of, you know, smooth it out towards the center of the surface. And I'm not too worried about going up where I am because there's going to be a cuff on his hat. So that's going to be covered up. And I don't know, whoops. I don't know how much I'll get done of this today. I may come back and work on it later on today. It's going to take a couple coats around her hairline because I got flesh up there. Little paint on the side. Now, if you happen to get paint on the side of your surface, I have these Lysol wipes, and I like to try and wipe it off as quickly as I can while it's still wet. If by chance you don't discover it until after the fact, I mean, it'll still come off. You just have to rub a little bit harder. Something you can use, I've said before, is a paint pen, magic marker. A lot of people use different things. So since I have this white out, I need to paint his hat, his eyebrows, his cuffs. mustache. Maybe I can get a nice light coat started on her hair. And I'm just taking off a lot of the paint before I go to my surface, just so I'm not covering up the score lines. I mean, I can go back and dig them out, but I just go into my paint and I kind of go off to the side of the plate just to take a little bit of the paint off. And then I just come to my wood and just lightly tap just to get the paint on there. And I wasn't paying attention, so I kind of went a little bit on her face. I like to use Q-tips to remove paint in areas where I had an oops moment. So next Friday starts high school football. As a matter of fact, there's kids going back to school on Monday. And when I was in school, it was always after Labor Day. I mean, we went to Canfield Fair, and then we started school the following Monday. But kids are going back to school on Monday. What? Middle of August? Things have changed. But anyhow, I am excited to be watching high school football. That's something my husband and I do every Friday night. Jeremiah is going to be the starting quarterback, and he is one heck of an athlete. We can't wait. And his mom has to be so proud of him. And a nice young man. Super, super nice young man. And I mean, he did, do a few snaps last year and actually the year before when he was a freshman. I mean, and he did very, very well. But he pretty much played receiver, and he's tough. This kid is just an all-around athlete. He's just amazing. Just amazing. Exciting to watch. So we are looking forward to that. And the high school is 2 miles from my house. We can hear the band, we can hear the crowd, we can hear the commentator sometimes. The only negative is they're playing Canfield. They play Canfield first for the last couple seasons. And Canfield always beats them. Canfield has always been their only loss in regular season. So I'm hoping it changes this year. We have a lot of guys coming back, a lot. I think we only lost think 4, which that's huge. And I think they're going to have a good year this year. They would definitely go to the playoffs. They go to the playoffs every year, but then they get to that one game and they lose. I mean, they won the state championship for baseball this last year. And oh my gosh, that game was exciting. Exciting. One of the best high school games I've ever seen. I mean, because we were down. And it took the last inning. And they came back and won. And the team they were playing was tough. And never allowed scoring. It was just crazy. Crazy, crazy. So I'm just going to use this smaller brush just to get a good coat next to these areas, these lines. I thought about using light buttermilk for Santa's beard. I mean, it's on the lines of a white, but you would definitely see the difference. And if I had Mrs. Claus next to Santa, you could kind of see. You would be able to see the difference. And so I just thought, no, just stick with white. So I did the warm white. It's going to take several coats of this white. White does not go on great. I don't care if you're applying it with a sponge or a brush. I mean, I could put a glob of paint on and just make it really thick, but then you're going to see all the brush lines, and I'm just not one that does that. I mean, I do put a lot of paint on my brush, but I swear I'm getting fuzzies. I don't know what's going on here. But I'll put a lot of paint on my brush, but I will move it around. And even though I might have a big gob of paint on my brush, I have a lot of water mixed into to help move it around. Hello. Hi, honey. So I just want to get a really decent coat around the hairline. And then I'll just take my sponge and put, you know, a thicker coat on the hair. Oh, thank you. By the way, the Browns are on today at 4:30. Just an FYI. They're playing Minnesota. I mean, you really can't tell the difference between regular white and this warm white. I mean, I see no difference. It might not be as bright, but other than that, I just don't see a difference. I figured you would be. My husband is a huge Browns fan. I am a huge Steelers fan. We do agree on Ohio State Buckeyes. But that's it. That is it. I think I need to get one more coat of white on this hair. Definitely need to dig out the score lines. And her hair will be good to go. Beard's looking blotchy. Let's see how the rest of these little pieces look. And it might be time to apply tape to my sticky board. Redo it. I mean, this tape has lasted a long time. I mean, a really long time. This thing has been sticky for a long time. So, well, let me see if I can get the center here and just get a really decent coat in the middle. Then go back around. And I think I went over my line. Yeah, I'm getting fuzzy somewhere. I don't know. This might be good enough for the beard. Now normally I like to shade my white with like antique white. But because I'm going to be shading her hair, I'm going to use sand gray and water it down. I just want it very light. I mean, the shading color, boy, I need to go around that hairline again. They always recommend some color of gray. Decor does when it comes to shading white. So I'm just gonna do a very minimal, whoa, too much paint. And her collar needs it just a little bit more. And really, I should have, on Mrs. Claus, even Mr. Claus, Santa Claus, I should have done the, clothing first. Because I'm going to be shading under, you know, like the collar of her, and because I'm doing the outfit red, I'm going to be using the black plum. And if I miss my mark, I'm getting it all over the white. I mean, all over it. And it will be hard to cover up. And I might have to just lightly sand. nice dry. Yeah, there's just, I don't know. Listen, just a little, some type of roughness on her here that I'm not liking. And you folks probably can't see it, but I can. And I think it's going to affect the way it looks. See, and another thing, when you're digging out, I don't know if you can see that, you're getting like little dust from the paint. So I think you need to rub that out with a tack cloth, because that might be what's getting in my sponge and then getting on my surface and giving me that rough look that I'm just not too happy about. And this is going to be the last coat of white I put on no matter what. I mean, I need to get around her hairline just a little bit better. Yeah. One more coat on the collar, and that's it. There's just like a dark spot right around in here, and I don't know what it is. It's weird. I know there was like a little bit of flaw, hello, on the wood, and you'll get that from time to time because I do use wood. But it was kind of like on the cheek. Okay, let's try and do a little bit of shading on her hair, just slightly. And then she's gonna have a headband, and probably once I paint that headband and put it on, I'll probably do a little shading around that, but I'm gonna wait. Let me use a color that's called sand gray. And as you can see on the plate, there's not much difference. A little bit, but not a whole lot. However, I'm still going to water it down and blend it really, really well, because I don't want this to stand out a whole lot. I really don't. See, that's very minimum. And I might need to do like a bigger brush. But I'd rather have a little bit than too much from the get-go. See, it's very minimal. So I need to switch brushes. Let me try this brush. If I have to pick a different gray, I will. Okay, this is going on darker. I don't know. Let me see something. I might have to switch to another color, but we will see. I'm gonna keep going with this and see. I don't want it too bold. I mean, I don't want to use dark gray on white, for goodness sakes. That's a little bit too much. And this isn't the best brush. I need a really good brush about this size. And just remember, if it gets darker than what you really wanted, you can always go back and go over it with your white. to calm it down. That might be something I do. Because I like how the top is. I'm not liking these bottom lines. They're too bold. There's no blending whatsoever. So I'm going to try and calm it down by going back over it with some white. Just to mute it a little bit. Because I want this minimal. This is actually my first time ever painting on Mrs. Claus. I kind of think I shied away from it because of her hair. But, I mean, you can see it. I mean, it looks darker on the camera than it does in person. That I can tell you right now. I'm going to shade under her head. And I might as well. Probably shade the outside of his beard as well. Yeah, I'm just not into bold, harsh shading and highlighting lines. That's just me. I don't like that. If that's something you're into, I mean, it has to be your personal preference. There's no right or wrong. But I'm just not liking how harsh those lines are. All right, let's go around and do his beard. I mean, another thing I could do, because I really don't want a dark shading. I could have mixed this gray with the white. That's something I could have done. So, I mean, that's very minimal, but it changes the outside color. And I'm going to do that for his hat, for his cuffs. I think I'm just going to go on the top of the hat. I'll probably darken that up a little bit. My water is just like really nasty dirty. I mean, there's just enough tint there. And that's kind of what I wanted for, you know, her hair, but didn't really get that. I think they actually recommend slate gray, which in my opinion is too dark of a shading color. I actually think I used this gray sky. Hello. When I shaded my truck. That's what I use, because I know I used the warm white. So I'm going to go on the bottom part of the mustache. I'm going to move this because I am going to shade this as well. And then I'll let that dry, and then I'll come back and do the top part. But I'm just trying to change the color of it just lightly. I'm not trying to make it bold. And I'm just going to go around half of this. This I might darken up a little bit. Go up the top here. Even though his mustache will be glued right there. Just to give a little bit of darkness. Kind of curve it around onto his sideburns. All right. I'm using a bigger brush. For these little curvy things. Her waves in her hair. I'm gonna see if I can make that a little bit wider. Do his mustache a little bit more at the bottom. as soon as I'm done with this shading of the white, I'm even just gonna like lightly go over his eyebrows. There was no rhyme or reason where I was shading on that, just to darken them up a little bit. I'll do it again. It just kind of calms him down a little bit. Go around the outside of his beard. I think that's enough shadow. I think I'll go around the outside edge of her hair as well. I think I'm gonna try a wider brush. Put like a wider flip. I have way too much water on my brush. Go figure on that. Let that dry. Definitely go around that again because I had way too much water. Go on the top part of this mustache. I want to go around this just a little bit more on the little ball of his hat. Try and go around the outside of her hair one more time. What I'm trying to do is, I think by going around here, you know, you got those curves of her hair. And I stopped him at the end of the score line. So I think I'm trying to, you know, introduce this color in so those curves are going up into that gray. So it doesn't look so cut off. I think that's what I'm trying to do there. It just kind of looks, I don't know. I mean, even in here it does. So, but I am going to be putting that band on there. All right. Good enough. tell you what I'm gonna do before I empty my water. I probably should paint these eyes. That's what I should do. And I'm not even going to worry about the deer right now, because that's way different colors. So I'll paint his eyes when I do them. I'm just putting a whole lot of paint in the middle. And then what I like to do is I will move my brush depending on the size of the eye. But I kind of like to just take my brush and push the paint out towards the score line. And what that does for me, I very rarely go outside the score line. And it doesn't reshape the eye, doesn't make it big and lopsided. Kind of keeps the shape. If anything that happens to me is sometimes I'm a little bit too small. You know, I didn't push it out far enough. That's a better way to say it. I didn't push it out far enough to the score line. And then if that's the case, I just add more paint in the middle and I just push out a little bit more. That's just what works for me. I've had lots of success that way. I mean, I'm using a smaller brush. You just gotta kind of, don't get overzealous with the pushing. Take your time. And I like to turn my piece, and as you can see, I'm missing that whole one side, but I'll go back and ease into it. And I'll turn my piece to, so I'm able to push my brush in that direction. And I will say the score line is kind of funky on this particular eye. I don't know why. Now, Mrs. Claus is going to be interesting because she has eyelashes. So this is either going to be a winner or an epic fail. I'm going to, yeah, this This is gonna be a first time for me. How to do this. Because there's hardly any surface where those eyelashes are. So I'm just going to switch to a really narrower brush with a better point to it. And I'm just going to try and push my paint out into this area. Just line up the paint, a bit more paint on this side of the eye, and just kind of try and push it out. And that didn't work. I'll try that again once that dries. So I think what I'll do is I'll start with this brush first over here. And honestly, that didn't work too bad. So that might be the secret to the eyelashes. I mean, it is what it is. And here's the thing, if I end up not liking it with the eyelashes, I'll recut this piece. Minus the eyelashes. We'll see what happens once I put the white dot on. Because I think it's important. The eyes are important. And my eyesight is not what it used to be. let that dry, and then I will do the dot, and I'll either like it or I won't. Whoa, too much paint. I'll either like it or I won't. The thing is too, you know, just because I drew these up, you know, this is kind of a test for me too. You know, I might be painting it, but I might discover, well, that just doesn't work. That's not going to work. So it gives me the opportunity, you know, to test my file as I'm painting it, and revamp things, or correct things, or add things, or take away things. So this helps me too. Because it might look good on a piece of paper, but it might not be good when you go to cut it out. Alright, let me see. I don't know how I feel about it, but yeah, I just don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. This might be a redo. It might be a redo. Let's see. And if that's the case, I will repaint it off a camera. I just don't know how I feel about that. You folks will have to give me your opinion. I think the dots need to be a little bit bigger on her. Let's see if I have, because that's too small. Let me see. Oh boy, I messed that up bad. Yeah, I'm not liking her eyes at all. And I'm not using fresh paint either, which is smart, and I know better than that. I know better. You're gonna have fresh paint. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I think her lashes, I don't know. I'm going to probably get rid of her lashes. For sure. For sure. It's not my thing. Mm-mm. I mean, a lot of people paint lashes on their eyes, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just not my thing. I don't care for it. I haven't done a whole lot of girl characters. I just haven't. So you let me know what you think about that. Or maybe what I'll do, you know, people like eyelashes on girls, I will give you two options for Mrs. Claus. You can have lashes or have no lashes. I'll give you that option so you can decide what you like. All right. With that being said, I definitely need to empty my water. It's bad shape. And I will be back and we'll continue on. I'm going to still keep painting Mrs. Claus just to paint her. But yeah, I think I'll be getting rid of her lashes. We'll see. All right, I'll be back shortly. I hope you stick around. Okay, I'm back. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to dry brush some coloring on her cheeks. Because honestly, I don't know. I'm just not feeling her. I don't know what it is. So I like to use Terra Coral. It's, you know, a little bit darker than a pink, but not as bright as a red. So I'm just going to load up my brush and scrub the paint off. I'm just going to lightly do a circle. I'm making it bigger. Just to give her some rosy cheeks. Maybe that'll do something. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I'm just not feeling her. And I'm going to do it for the elf as well, just to bring a little bit more color to the face. And I like to rub most of my paint off. And then I just start off really going lightly, and then kind of just like expanding my circle. And I'm kind of just going like at the end of where the smile is. And I think that's good enough. All right. Let's start painting some red on the suits of these characters. So my go-to color is country red. That's what I like. I'll start off by painting stuff on the elf. And while I'm at it, I'll probably just paint the reindeer's nose because, of course, it's going to be Rudolph. And I might as well paint the berries and the band for Mrs. Claus for her headband. And her earrings are going to be red. I'll paint those light bulbs later. I might not be able to cover up this really dark flaw on his suit. It might be kind of tough. We will see. I should have taken that black and painted his belt. It might still be fresh enough that I can use it. I'm gonna do that now. And it has some gold metallic paint. And I think that might be what I use for the belt buckle. I'm not for sure. And I have just enough paint out to do this belt. It's really a nice day today. Nice day for Shaker Woods. Today's the second weekend of that. Next weekend will be the last weekend. So my husband and I might go to that tomorrow. Nikki is talking up a storm today. Having all kinds of conversations with Alexa. Yes, I know you heard me. I have way too much paint on this little brush to try and get up next to that beard. I'm asking for an oops moment. But I think it's supposed to rain today. much paint. I'm not worried about getting the paint down in the cuff area because I am going to be gluing cuffs on there. But I want to make sure I get my red down there far enough. I do have a hat band that I'm going to be gluing on, so I definitely want to make sure my red's down far enough with that too. Too much paint. I'm not really going to worry about the score marks on the hat because I'm going to be doing some shading and highlighting to kind of emphasize the crease in this hat. And shading around that beard and belt is going to be a little iffy. Especially when you use black plum and it's just so dark. I mean, I'm definitely going to have to use a smaller brush, but using a smaller brush gives you dark, harsh lines. So we'll have to see how that works out. And I guess I could have used a sponge. I wasn't paying attention. I mean, my go-to is to grab a brush. I just recently started, painting with a sponge. Like I said, I should have done the outfits first. I always like to work furthest back in. Because see, when I go to shade these, if I mess up, I'm on the white. And you've seen how many coats it took me of white to get some good coverage. If I happen to get black plum on here, I'm in trouble. It's gonna be very hard to cover up. And the wind is definitely picking up. I can hear it. We've had a hot summer, but we've had a wet summer. A lot of bad storms. That's a little bit blotchy today. And just like that, my water is filthy again. Alright, I think we'll do a little highlighting. I think instead of trying to, you know, I'm going to go on the outside edge of this for sure. But I'm just going to highlight the tips of these instead of trying to go through the whole curvature of that. I just think that would, you know, be too much. Same with the bottom part. And I need to clean that lid out. So what I think I'll do is I'll go down the sides first, allow those to dry, and then I'll go back and do the tips. And I pray that fades, because that's a lot brighter than I wanted. See if I can blend it in a little bit better. While I'm at it, might as well highlight the nose. Hello. Hello. Okay, I'm going to highlight the outside edges of this sleeve. Now, how I have this, and I don't know if you can really kind of see this in the camera, but his arms is actually behind his body. So I'm going to highlight the outside of the sleeve and actually this part of his body. Just to kind of, you know, give the illusion once I put the shading on there, that his arms are behind in the back. And I personally kind of think, when it comes to highlighting and shading, I kind of think the shading is what does the illusion. And like I said, I always like to highlight first because I want my shading to cover up my highlighting. Cross over it, I guess, is a better way to say that. If they happen to, you know, meet. Now with her body, her arms are behind, so I'm gonna highlight here and highlight the outside edge. I just can't keep enough water in this brush. It's just it doesn't have very many bristles. I need to somehow try and mellow that out. A little bit brighter than what I wanted. Up a little bit too far. Let's see, a little bit more highlighting on his sleeve, and then I'm gonna work on his hat. Ooh, that's too much. Oh well. It may or may not calm down. We will see. All right. I'm going to start off by just going from where this crease is all the way around the outside edge. And I'll kind of explain that when I do the next part, why I did that like that. So I'm just going to, go around the edge. Until I come to that crease mark, and then I'm gonna stop. We'll see how this other stuff is going. Get a little bit more highlight on his nose. See if I can get a little bit of tiny highlight on these berries. Just a little bit. I mean, it's tough in some of these small areas. But I just kind of tilt. I like to use an angle brush when I'm trying to highlight curvy areas and small areas. And I kind of tilt my brush. That's what I do. That's what works for me. And I'm actually going to lightly highlight the top of here, just to bring in a little bit of brightness. And I'm just going to go back and highlight the tips of this hat band for the elf. And then the tips on the collar is what I'm going to do. Because I think it just would have been too much to try and go around the whole outside edges of these. Just my opinion. That's good enough. I need to go around his hat one more time. And then we're going to get and do a little bit of shading. And while I'm at it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight inside this hat. And why I stopped right there is because I'm going to highlight this all the way down. I kind of wanted that one whole long stroke. So that's kind of why I stopped right in there. Then I'm going to go back and do this side. I might have to put more highlighting outside on that outside edge of that hat. It's really fading today. I think that's probably good enough. Maybe get this one outside edge of his suit just a little bit more. Check on this stuff. This hat band, the hat band needs just a little bit more. Or headband. She's not wearing a hat. You know what? I'm going to put a little bit at the bottom of her earrings. All right. Okay. Good enough. All right. I'll get the black plum. And start doing a little bit of shading. And you really need to water down the black plum and blend it really, 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 really well. Because you want to start off minimal and then build. And I am going to have to go back over that, but that's okay. I'd rather go back over it than have too much and kind of not be happy. So it's adding a little bit of shadow and it's kind of pushing everything away. Now I'm going to go like right here. I am going to go on the hat band, and while I'm doing that, I might as well trace my hat band because I do want to shade behind that. So I'll get an idea where that is right now. Because you definitely want to cast a shadow. So I'm just going to lightly put a line. Whoa, that moved. That really moved. Let me do that again. What's nice about this is this is a chalk pencil, so when the water hits it, it will fade. And I think for around this hat band, I'm going to use just a flat brush, one that has a lot of bristles, so I can really, really blend it and get a pretty wide float of shading. And I will definitely go over that. I might just stick with this thing, period, for certain parts here. Whoa, that's too much. It's a lot darker than what I wanted, but it's going to have to do. I'm going to go ahead and do this one portion of the crease. And kind of like walk the float up there. It's a little bit darker than what I wanted, but take this and do around the belt. And then I am going to have to go around the beard. Well, that faded pretty good. Try and do that other crease. Right. I'm gonna do her arms, and then I will have to go back and do underneath her collar. I could be a little bit darker. But see, I don't know if you can tell by the camera how it's starting to push things back and move things forward. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish with doing the shading and the highlighting. Oh boy. Well. And that might have been too much. Oh well. Hopefully that's down kind of below his band. We will find out. I'm going to shade on the opposite side of this ball, and I'm actually going to shade on the top of the collar and the bottom of the hat band. Just to add a different color. Just brings a different color in. All right, let's see if I can get anything going with those berries. They're pretty tiny, but we will see. Not too bad. Well, let's see. Let's see what the hat band has to say here. Well, that's not too bad. That's not bad at all. So, I think I'm going to darken up just a little bit more where these creases are. Only because I want them to stand out a little bit more. Just gives it a little bit more dimension. Alright, underneath her collar, and that's about it for the, oh, I gotta do around the cuffs. Oh, and the beard. So I'm not even close to being done. So let's just go ahead and do this beard first. And I'm just touching ever so lightly on the surface. All right, let's get to underneath her collar. Definitely ran out of paint there. So try back, go back a little bit. Hello. So I think we're about done with the red and the shading. I think that's pretty good. Now to paint his belt buckle, maybe do a little bit more underneath the collar. Just a little bit more. I think that's good. All right. Let's see. Like I said, I do have some gold. Why not? I don't think that's mixed up very good. Try it again. I don't know. It's hard to tell. We will see. Yeah, I say no. I've never used this gold before. So I'll shake it up more. It says it's a sheen. It's not a metallic, it's a sheen. Well, it is a metallic paint, but it's called a sheen, so I don't know. I don't know if you paint this over top of a color you already have. That looks a little bit better. So we will see. This might be very mild. Yeah, I think I should paint this over top of in color. And then it puts like the glitter on it. We'll see. We'll let it dry. It's very mild, which is good because that's, I didn't want anything, hello, I didn't want anything in your face as far as this gold. It's very subtle, and that's kind of what I was after anyways. Yeah, I've never used this paint before. I've had it for a couple years now. But I like it. It's subtle and it gives just enough glitter, just enough sparkle. That when the light hits it, it definitely will be sparkling. Yeah, I like that. I will have to use that more often. All right. We're almost done with these 3 characters. I just got to paint green. So I'm going to go with the Hauser medium green to paint the holly leaves and paint the elf's hat and jacket. And then 3 of these 4 characters are done. And I know from experience last week, several coats of this green. Way too much paint. You won't need several coats with that big blob. But if you just move it around, you're good to go. Heavy-handed with the old paint today. And this green just, it fades. just going to go around his ear with a paintbrush. And the rest of this I'm just going to do with a sponge. Hello. But it will definitely take a few coats of this green to have really good coverage. And you gotta, I'm gonna take it down as close to his face as I can because of the curves of the hat band. You wanna make sure you get it down there far enough. Because you gotta remember that hat band is pointy at the top. So and I'll take the hat band off and just place it there. Just to see where I'm at. I almost just messed up and went over his ear. Got distracted for a second. All right, let's see. Pretty blotchy. And I might go over that belt buckle one more time. Just to make it a little bit more darker. Yeah, I really like that. All right, let's see where I'm at as far as this hat band goes, if it's gonna hit or not. And it's gonna be good. I went down far enough, but that's gonna be good. Probably though, what I am gonna do is once I get a good coat of green on here, I'm gonna do some shading. I'll probably just do dry brushing. Just to put some shading above that hat band. So, but in order for me to do that, that really has to be dry pretty good. I don't know how I feel about her eyes. She might be a do-over. Still just not feeling those eyes. I don't know. Okay. Let's get a little Hauser light green. And highlight around his hat. Oh, I didn't do his suit. That was dumb. Get his suit real quick. Not paying attention. Let that dry and go back. All right. I'm gonna get a little Hauser light green. We're gonna do some highlighting around the outside edge of his hat. And I'm just gonna go around the whole edge, but after this dries, I'm gonna actually go back and emphasize like the hump parts to bring more highlight to that. Now I'm not gonna make the mistake that I did last time with these holly leaves. I'm just gonna highlight the points. And I'm gonna do that on top because I will shade that. I didn't like how that was last time. So this one I might not have a choice because it doesn't stand alone, but okay. I know I want it to be a little bit more lighter, and I will do, like I said, emphasize the humps. Something you can do too, I see people do it all the time. You can actually highlight green with yellow. So that's another option, like a lighter yellow. Like you could use a golden straw, depending on the green that you're using. But like a golden straw, even a marigold. So, I mean, that's something else you can do. I had an oops moment, go figure. see. Boy, that's just not really highlighting very well. One more coat. That's a lot bolder than real. Got that harsh line. Now I'm going to do the same as what I did on the Santa, and I still have to go over on this side and highlight, but I'm going to highlight this area right here. Because you know how stocking caps are. You know, you got the cap part, you know, that goes on your head, and then you've got the long part that hangs down. So, you know, you want to kind of bring this to the front. I just kind of want a little bit more brightness in certain areas. And that is too harsh. I did not plan good. Whoops. All right. Yeah, it's funny. This is really fading a lot today, where last week, It's amazing how things change from one week to the next. All right. Let's do a little shading. I'm just gonna kind of shade the opposite side of this, the hollies, the tips. In fact, I'm just gonna go around the whole bottom of it. Just to bring in a different color. Now, I want to dry brush my shading. So, I kind of want to just see where I'm at. I want very minimal shading. Very minimal. So I'm going to place this where I know it's supposed to be, and then I'm just going to move it up a little bit. So I can do my line. See, I'm not going to be using any water. So, dry brushing might not take this away, that line away. So that's why I'm kind of doing that like that. And I'm just using this really lightly, touching it really light. So. And if you're using the same brush, which I am, that I used before, you want to make sure it's really dry. Because if not, it'll be dark. Now, something you can do is kind of start below where you actually really want to go. And then just kind of move your way up. So you're not getting real dark right at that, spot at the beginning. I gotta watch that ear, or I'll be getting shading where I don't want it. And I'm not looking for any rhyme or reason for this shading. I'm just trying to get some darker color up there. I'm not trying to get the zigzags like you would if you were floating it. I'm just trying to get a darker color. I'm not trying to be too specific. I'm just trying to get a different color. Just some darkness. Hello. Now with this, it might be a little bit easier, to go back and forth, get a little bit more distinct shade line, but it's not necessary. And I just want it minimal, like I said. Just you know, casting a little bit of a shadow. It's not going to be distinct like it would around his ear, because I do have to go around his ear. And you know, don't be afraid to take the collar band, the collar off, the hat band, and you know, stick it there and see if I didn't wipe off very good. See if there's that much of a difference. And I can just see, just by looking at it, that there is. So let's just take a look-see real quick. Because I just want it minimal. I don't want it like a major shading line. And you can see that it's just very minimal. It's really minimal. You can hardly see it. And that's really what I'm kind of going for. I don't want it really bold and distinct. That's not what I want. So I might go a little bit more underneath there. And then I'm going to go back with a shading brush and, you know, shade on the jacket, around the ears, and then definitely around that little crease on the hat. And something I noticed is, like maybe, like right in here, I needed a little bit more. All right, and I'm washing my brush because that'll prevent me from going back and tinkering because it's soaking wet. Do I have other brushes? Yeah, but this is probably my favorite brush to dry brush with. So that prevents me from going overboard. I think I'll do a little bit more on these holly leaves. And honestly, this is about done. And I think what I'll do is I probably will come back later on today. I'll glue all this together and then and work on the reindeer. That's what I think I'll do. There's a lot of pieces to glue on. And I need that shading to be a lot wider. I don't know, I'm just not feeling that little line. Let's see. Let's try this brush. And even the highlighting line could be a little more distinguished. Just not getting those bright spots like I wanted. The bright highlights. So we'll go with that, and that's that. Yeah, that shading's really dark today. A lot darker than it normally is. Heavy hand. All right. Just a little bit more at the top here. And I think this elf is good enough. So I think this is pretty good. I'm pleased. Let's see. Yeah. I've been on here a long time, a lot longer than what I anticipated. But I get into what I'm doing. And I take my time. And I paint. And that's just who I am. And I'm never going to change. So it may drive some crazy, but I don't know. You don't have to watch. What you do, you don't hesitate to talk smack about me, but that's okay. You know what they say about opinions. Just saying. So, sad. It's sad that people have to be that way, but I guess they have to be that way. Not my thing. I don't need it. So, I think I'm pretty happy with things. Maybe I'll go shade around this, behind this berry real quick, where the berries would be, just to bring another shadow in. But honestly, hello, this is about done. So, yeah, just got the reindeer to do, and the squares, and the sign part, and we're done. So I may come back on later on today and glue this together, and then also start on the reindeer, and who knows, the squares. So just keep checking back. And I want to thank the 2 people that's been here since the start. Thank you. You like coming on first thing and watch me throughout, and I appreciate that. So until then, thank you very much. I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye-bye.